Hey you, get on this stick.
Yo, bring it.
Choose your fighter.
Yeah. How's it going, lads?
Fight!
Bang, bang, bang.
Flawless victory.
Side Quest Arcade. Do. Hey, everybody, it's Side Quest Arcade. I'm your host, Madman Matt, fucking with the Cully. I think Flint's a blue buff having ass, and welcome to Side Quest Arcade, the podcast by gamers. With me, as always, are my esteemed co-hosts, my colleagues, Brian, aka Happiness. Listen, before I talk about Dirt for 6.5 hours, let me just tell you about this new game coming out in like 2 years, Soul Calibur. Hold on here, Brian. Hold on here. Let's kick it off to our other co-host before you start another rant. Bryce, aka _ Silent Reveries. Yo, beers and rumble. Beers and rumble. Beers and rumble. Fucking shh. Send it. I love Kakashi. Huh. And, of course, as always, definitely not a blue buff. Micro Manatee. Hey there, lads. How's it going? So if you haven't figured it out yet, I am the only host that was able to make it for tonight's recording of Side Quest Arcade. So rather than try and email and DM like 16 people to see if we could like cobble together a show of 4 people, we thought, hey, why doesn't Flint just sit in front of a camera and a microphone and talk for as long as he possibly can and get a one-man show out? We've never done a one-man show before, so this could be interesting. I have a feeling I'll get to like an hour, which should be sufficient. I think by that point, you're probably going to be tired of my voice. And you know what? To be honest with you, I don't usually talk that much during the regular episodes. This is kind of like an SQA special edition. Like this is just Flint sitting in front of a camera. So maybe you get to know me a little bit better. Maybe you hate it. Maybe you like it. I don't know. We're going to figure it out. So we're going to try and stick with somewhat similar format today, boys. We got a community challenge lined up. We got some stories that we can talk about in the gaming community, which is what we all are. We're all gamers here. And, I had a week. First of all, I would just like to say, I missed last week. I was in Hamilton fucking sending it with my friends. But by the way, let's kick this episode off correctly, okay? Excellent. So, yeah, I was in Hamilton with my buddies, and I basically said, I can make it for D&D, but I can't make it for the episode. I can't devote that time. I need to spend time with my family and friends, my IRL friends down in good old Hamilton. So I skipped that week, and I received quite the roasting from my other co-hosts. This is almost like a revenge. Like they all kind of ganged up and they called me the blue buff and they said my sister should come on the show instead of me. But now it's me. Now I'm here, boys, and I get to have a little fun. I'm probably not gonna do much more. I roasted them at the start. I'm probably not gonna roast them unless I think of a funny one while I'm talking. I'm gonna try and fire off maybe like a Brian rant or two and just kind of hold the fort down. But other than that, so I spent most of my week down in Hamilton, enjoying that, and then I came back and I want to kick things off with a game that I've really been enjoying, that I think you guys will too. It's called Dying Light. I have been playing that nonstop this week. I am a huge fan of zombie survival games, like Dead Island. I've played Dead Island maybe 5 or 6 times all the way through. I absolutely adore it. I love the idea of having an RPG style, almost a dungeon crawler, where enemies come back and you progress with the leveling tree. Like, wow, I loved it to death. But Dead Island had its problems. It was a kind of a clunky game. You couldn't really jump. You couldn't get around terrain correctly, things like that. And everyone's been telling me, well, if you like Dead Island, don't play Dead Island anymore. Play Dying Light, this new game's like a spiritual successor, and I was thinking, fuck that. Don't tell me what I like, okay? I like Dead Island. Don't tell me not to play a game that I love for this other one. And I finally caved, and I got the Enhanced Edition, which is on Steam for like $20 right now. And I shouldn't have caved. I should have caved sooner, because this game is amazing. What is Dying Light, you might ask? So it's a zombie survival game, much in the same vein as Dead Island, where you're running around, you're crafting weapons, you're learning new skills like a head stomp, things like that, and you're fighting zombies that increase with difficulty as you get stronger. And you're going around doing quests for survivors in an enclosed area, in this case the city of Haran, a fictional city that was made up for the game. And that's like the basic premise of any kind of like Dead Island-esque sort of game. What makes this one different is the inclusion of parkour. So my biggest complaint with Dead Island was always that I didn't feel like I could get around the city or the different zones really in the way I wanted to. I was very much hindered by things like guardrails and buildings and terrain. Dying Light says, nah, fuck that. Okay, fuck that noise entirely. What you're going to do, okay, is you're going to learn how to do parkour, like all those crazy YouTube videos I used to watch back in 2010, and you're going to hop around the city like a fucking deranged maniac and cut zombies' heads off. And it's very rare that I get to see a game really utilize the third dimension like they have. The only game that I can really think is something along the lines of Mirror's Edge, where you could really just jump around and do whatever the fuck you want. And it adds a level to the gameplay that I didn't think I was going to enjoy, but I severely enjoy it. It's so nice when you're getting chased by a horde to not just have to sit there and outrun them. You can like be looking around the terrain. Oh, there's a building I can climb. There's a pole I can climb. I can just get out of the way. Oh, I can slide off that and kick a zombie in the face. It's amazing. On top of that, Dying Light also has a day-night cycle. So unlike Dead Island, where I don't believe there was a day-night cycle. I think it was just whatever time of day you were there, you were just kind of there. There was no nighttime. It was just you're in the jungle all the time, and it's, that's how it is. This game runs on a 24-hour clock, sped up obviously for gameplay purposes, but you do most of your questing during the day, because at night it is pitch black. First of all, you cannot see shit unless you have like a flashlight, or like firecrackers and things like that, which you don't want to use, because also at night much stronger infected come out. They're called volatiles, and they have like spidery rib cages, and they're faster than you, and they just like prowl around, and if you get into their line of sight, they will hunt you down and call others to hunt you down. And this is on top of the normal infected, so you really, when you're out at night, it's for very specific reasons, and the last thing you want to do is be like caught out with your pants down at night. And again, this is a mechanic that I didn't think I was going to enjoy, because basically it's saying, well, you can't play half the game. But the game designers have made it a very enjoyable experience, and it's one of the first games in a long time that has made me feel tense and nervous. Going out at night had risks and big rewards, because you get double experience points. There's different kinds of infected that can be used to craft powerful weapons at night. All these things exist within this little microcosm of playing at night, and the atmosphere is just like, it gets you. Like, I was scared. I'm wandering through the city. There's infected looking for me. I can hear them growling behind me, and I'm just sprinting. I'm trying to find the next safe zone, and my heart's pounding, and I'm thinking, this is fucking sweet. On top of that, the game is huge. So I think it's like a 2 square kilometer game, like the map. But then on top of that, it is just full of people and random quests and airdrops, and it's just like constant little barrages of content to keep you playing through the game. It was, again, a big problem with Dead Island was I didn't feel like there was enough side quests. There wasn't enough things to keep me busy to stop me from progressing in the main story. Dying Light has absolutely fixed that. And as a result, I feel like I've been playing all week, and I have been playing all week, like 3-4 hours a night, and I'm still only like 20% through the story. Like, I've just been doing side quests, and I've been enjoying it. again, not an experience I've had recently. I've been playing a lot more online games. I haven't found a single-player game that's really caught my attention since this game. So I would say if you're in the market for a single-player game and you like the zombie genre, you don't mind getting spooked every once in a while with jump scares and nighttime escapades, I would check it out. It's like $20 on Steam right now. You can't go wrong. It might not be $20 by the time this comes out tomorrow. Sorry if I'm giving you bad information, but if not, I would check it out. The only other games this week that I would love to talk about, and I really wish the other hosts were here, and maybe I'll vibe with them next week about it if it's still around, is the old Joust map came back in Smite. If you have listened to VD2 at all, you know that I was toxic as fuck when Season 3 Joust came out, but I learned the game on Season 2 Joust, the old Joust map with the medieval theme. And when they announced this as a game mode in the patch notes, when Hi-Rez did for Smite, I was overjoyed. I was like, oh, hell yeah. And the nostalgia glasses were coming on. I was ready to go. It was going to be amazing. And I played like 20 or 30 games. And I have to say, boys, honestly, I think this is the better Joust map. I think what they've done to the new Joust map is interesting and innovative. But I feel like the general gameplay feel and the map structure of the older map was better. There just seems to be more to do in terms of buff control and how the lane works, because it feels like it's a shorter lane. That could be incorrect. I'd have to measure it out compared to the new Joust map, but it feels like a more populated map. It feels like you have more to do. Fights feel more intense. That being said, there are still problems with it, and I understand why, things like the Bull Demon King were introduced in the new Joust map, because it fucking sucks when you lose all your buffs. Like you start losing team fights, you lose all your buffs, and all you can do is really sit in a tower. And conversely, that sucks for the attackers, because all you're doing is sitting under tower, and they're trying to take the tower, but defense is always easier than offense in real life and in video games, generally without some kind of buff or advantage. But I really, after playing this for this long, after playing Joust for this long, I would have to say I would love it if they brought the old Joust map back. And I think what they could do, and this is just kind of a spitball-y suggestion after playing it like 20 or 30 games, if they wanted to bring it back and they wanted to balance it more than the current Chinese theme map. Because as much as I love the Chinese theme map, like I love the aesthetic of it, I think it just feels boring. Like I don't feel like I have enough to do, because there's only 4 recurring camps and then the Bull Demon. I just feel like I'm sitting in like boring staring contests in lane, and I don't have as much fun. And I think it was part of the reason I got so toxic in Season 3. So I think what you could do with the old map is, if you have played it, there's 3 buffs on either side. Currently there's a blue, a red, and a yellow. Well, you don't really need speed buff in Joust. It's one lane. You're not worried about going faster. The map is smaller infinitely than Conquest. You're not worried about rotations. You're not worrying about how quick you're going. So what I would do is move the red buffs, or the blues, it doesn't really matter, back to the corner camps where the speeds are. And in the center, I would have 2 miniature sort of Bull Demon-esque things pop up. And if you took both of them, you got a huge boon. Like, I don't know if it would be you had to take both to disable a tower. Yeah, I'll say that. So you take both, you disable a tower or a Phoenix. And if you only take one, you get sort of like a Fire Giant buff boost. And that way, I think it gets interesting. It gives the attacking team something to do if they have their foot to the throat of the defending team, and all the defending team is doing is sitting under tower. And it makes the defending team want to take risks and want to leave that tower, because now there's a central buff to fight over. And I think, honestly, that would make the game much more competitive. And maybe that's something to do with the Season 3 Joust map. I don't know. Personally, that's just my suggestion. That's just kind of me going off the cuff and really just wanting the old medieval Joust map back, because I really loved it so much. I've had a blast playing it when I'm not playing Dying Light, and I think they can make it work. I feel like it was just kind of a waste of a map to throw away. I don't know. So, this week for SQA, since it's just me, and I don't have the other co-hosts to riff with, which is kind of my favorite thing to do. I've sort of structured the episode a little bit more. And what I'm going to do is I picked 4 or 5 stories from gaming news that I've really enjoyed over the course of the last few weeks. And I'm going to just kind of talk about them. These are things that we weren't able to talk about on SQA due to time constraint. Most likely we've been doing a lot of brackets recently, or I just wasn't there because I missed last week. So some of these stories are from last week and I wanted to talk about them, but I couldn't. And some of them from previous weeks where I wanted to talk about them and I was going to throw them out, but then, we're talking about Bowser Jr. versus Gara and fucking speed dating and who's better at that. And, that takes up 2 hours and I enjoyed that profusely. Yeah, so it's going to be stories that I've wanted to talk about this whole time. And I haven't been able to. So I'm going to do it now because I think that's kind of, it's not where we started, but we've always covered things like that in BD2 and SQA, things that have piqued our interest. So I think I'm going to kick that off. More to reality, it makes it easier for me to edit this and actually record it because otherwise, I would have already run out of shit to talk about, and we'd have like 20-minute episode, and that's no good. So, kicking off our first story. Let me just open it up here. Oh, that's Audacity. Again, also running this by myself. Kind of annoying. First story, competitive D&D. Now, you guys know I play a lot of D&D now. I'm in 2 campaigns. I'm kind of all over it. And this was a story that came up. When the fuck did it come up? July 24th. So that was a while ago. That was a month ago. So this is old news in terms of technology or gaming. A month is like 40 years back. But this is a quote I saw being passed around on Twitter, and I thought it was hilarious. So I thought I would cover it. Hasbro CEO thinks Dungeons & Dragons has a future in esports. Now that statement alone, if you know anything about Dungeons & Dragons, which I know very little about, but I am learning, is very questionable. Because Dungeons & Dragons is very much how I've always seen it, is collective storytelling, right? You get a DM and you get like 5 or 6 people in a room, and the DM is starting a narrative, and the players are like interactive. Interactable's not a word. Interactive characters in this story, and it reacts, and this whole weave unfolds, and it's very fun. And it has an intermixing of a dice game in there, also. It's like acting in math had this weird baby, which, in high school was very strange because most of the theater nerds did not like math. As a former math nerd that hung out with the theater kids, I can say that with certainty. Anyway, so this Hasbro CEO comes out and he says, listen, Dungeons & Dragons and Magic the Gathering, which Hasbro owns both, have a future in esports. We think it is ripe for esports opportunities, I think was the quote. From Jim Cramer, the CEO of, Brian Goldner, the CEO of Hasbro. And a lot of people were making fun of this. I know Matt Colville on Twitter was kind of playing along. He's like, yeah, I used to play competitive D&D all the time. And I think it was like who could run through a dungeon module the fastest. And Matthew Mercer, one of the wonderful voice actors in Critical Role, said, I cringed so hard my teeth broke. Because he is very much in the camp of D&D is for stories. It's not really for, like, you can't compete. Like, that just seems like a thing that you can't do. So, where does this story go, and why did I think it was interesting? Well, I thought it was interesting because I'm newly minted in the D&D club. I don't know how else to say that. I've started playing D&D. I'm hooked on it. I think it's very fun, and I think if you can find a way into it, whether that's on Reddit through /r/looking for group, or that's your local game club, or you find a group like we did on Discord, it doesn't matter. I think you should play it. I think everyone should play it. It's a very fun experience, especially for a gamer. So absolutely, if you can, play it. So that's one reason I thought it was interesting. I saw the Dungeons & Dragons keyword, and I thought, huh. And then I saw competitive in front of it, and I thought, no, wait, hold on. So let me kind of break down what the article was talking about. So this was Brian Goldner, CEO of Hasbro, and he was talking about Magic the Gathering and Dungeons and Dragons, which are two very, very different beasts, although, in the same realm of fantasy games. And he was talking about how well they're doing recently. D&D is incredibly popular. Magic the Gathering is becoming even more popular than it has already been. So those two things are doing quite well. And he was talking about the potential growth paths of that. And he was saying something along the lines of, these games are ripe for esports opportunities. And he later clarified that statement, saying that he was equating streaming, things like just streaming a game of D&D on Twitch, to competitive esports, which is a very much a hello there, fellow kids situation where he doesn't really understand what Twitch is. But he was also talking about Magic the Gathering, which is an extremely competitive game that has players buying new box sets every 6 months. I don't know the release on Magic the Gathering, but I'd imagine it's something like Yu-Gi-Oh! And as someone who's played a bit of Yu-Gi-Oh! In his day, you end up buying a fuck ton of cards. And you play competitively. So I think, well, the statement was kind of taken out of context. It was just a story I found funny. And I'd like to pass it off to the whammies. What do you guys think? Would you play competitive D&D? What would that look like? Would it be like a dungeon running module? Would it be like who could complete this story arc the fastest? Who rolls the highest? What do you think? Let me know in the Discord, or tweet at me at Micromancy, or tweet at the SQA Twitter. We don't get a ton of interaction on there as of late. We're trying to fix that. So if you want to hit us up at the official Twitter. Hell yeah. At SQA Podcast. Do it. So that's the first story. Second story, IGN plagiarism. This was a big one that happened during the week I was away. And I wanted to talk about it so bad. And as soon as I saw the headline, I was like, man, this is perfect for the podcast. Brian's going to rant for an hour about this. Oh, it's going to be so good. Love you, Brian. Anyway, so to break it down really quickly, if you missed it out, and this was something I found through Reddit, a Redditor who has a YouTube channel, and it was very small. It's like 10,000 subs, called Boomstick Gaming, came out, and he said, an IGN reviewer has plagiarized my Dead Cells review. What do I do? And attached to it was a 7 or 8 minute video where he broke down his review of Dead Cells for the Nintendo Switch, and he put it side by side with a video review by a former IGN reviewer called Philip Mewson. And he would play a clip of his, and he would play a clip of Philip's, and the similarities were very striking. It was very clear in the wording of the IGN editors, former IGN editors, statements that he had seen Boomstick Gaming's review and had just kind of shuffled the words around, like if you're writing a high school paper and you don't really have the time, so you start copying stuff and you sort of change the way the sentence goes to make it sound more flowery, so then you hope that no one notices. That seemed to be very much what was going on, and I think that the editor thought he could get away with it because the YouTube channel in question only had about 10,000 subs at the time. However, that wasn't the case. It blew up on Reddit. It blew up in gaming journalist circles. I think it was one of those things where the gaming journalists very much did not want this attached to their name or their reputation. So they jumped all over it. They were after this guy. They were saying plagiarism isn't okay. You can't be doing this. And IGN immediately, to their credit, whatever you think about 7.8 out of 10 too much water IGN, they took the review down. They issued a statement saying plagiarism is unacceptable. We're going to look into this more. And they did end up firing this guy, Philip Mewson. And that's sort of the run of the story. Kotaku did a whole long article about it. I don't usually read Kotaku, but they were pretty in-depth. And they said they started to find other things that he had reviewed that he had very clearly borrowed from. So there was a Nintendo Life review of FIFA 18 that he covered, and there was a couple others on Twitter that I can't remember the names of, but he was very, very similar to other reviewers and what he said, and it was like 2 or 3 days after their review had come out. So either he was very much borrowing phrases from those reviews, or he's just straight up copying them. So, what do I think about this? I think Plagiarism is bullshit, and I think that guy was a lazy fuck. He did release a statement later where he didn't. It was supposed to be an apology video, but he did that thing where he didn't actually apologize in his fucking apology video, where he was saying like, "Oh, I'm very, it's very unfortunate this happened. I didn't intend for this to happen," but never did we hear the phrase, "I'm sorry, I fucked up. It won't happen again." It was very much a shift in blame. He blamed gaming journalists, like the writer of this Kotaku piece. I'm going to get his name because I feel like that's important. Jason Schreier. I can't say your last name. I'm very sorry. And he basically shifted the blame from himself. And I think that's kind of indicative of his personality. He's sorry he got caught. He's not sorry that he plagiarized. And I think given the chance, he would do it again. And why I think this is a big deal is any kind of professional plagiarism like this is unacceptable. You know, I think plagiarism in general is unacceptable. There's a reason why we fight so hard against it in schools. But when your job is to play a game and give your honest opinion of it, if you're copying someone else's opinion, it's not your review anymore. So you're not doing your job. You're just coasting and earning a paycheck. You're being a lazy fuck. Do better. And also, you know, when someone comes out and doesn't actually apologize, as a Canadian, I'm very sensitive in how my apologies are structured. And if it's not a genuine apology, I can kind of tell right away. This guy clearly did not give a fuck. He was more mad that he was getting fired and that he was called out and caught for this than he was, you know, upset with himself for, you know, actually plagiarizing instead of sitting down and doing the work. And I am glad that IGN reacted the way they did, and I'm glad that people reacted the way they did in terms of like the gaming journalist community. But I think this is also very much a thing that the gaming journalists did not want attached to them. And this is one of those stories that I'm glad it went the way it did, because it can always turn into a gaming journalists are lazy. We saw that a lot with the Cuphead story where the guy couldn't beat the game, or he couldn't even get out of the tutorial in like 5 minutes or something stupid like that. And people are really willing to jump down the throat of reviewers and journalists without actually looking and seeing what they're doing, which is oftentimes a very difficult job. And you have lazy fucks like this that make it worse. With all these other stories, you can drop 2 cents towards me in the Discord or in the official Twitter, the SQE Twitter. Let me know what you think. Personally, I think this guy's a dumb fuck. I hope he doesn't get hired again in the gaming industry. I really hope that he doesn't find a job there again, and that other people like Boomstick Gaming can really shine in terms of the reviewing sphere of YouTube and game sites, because obviously these guys are putting the work and he is not. Third story of the day. Steam makes Windows games work on Linux. That's a very general article, but let me explain what this means. So right now on Linux, if you want to play games that are Windows exclusive, like if I wanted to play Smite, which is a Windows exclusive game, I know that they made a Mac port. I don't think it works still, so we're not sure, right? You would have to boot up a separate program on your Linux machine called Wine, and it sort of emulates Windows enough that you can run Windows programs through it. The keyword being kind of run, because it doesn't always work. It's very buggy, and it's not a great user experience. So what this has led to is a lot of people like myself that don't like Windows 10, we have to stick with it because we use it for gaming. I want all my games to work all the time. I need consistency, and I need regular access to the games that I buy and I love and I want to enjoy. I can't do that on Linux, even though I prefer Linux as a operating system because of its stability and its open source attitude towards people using it. And it's also free. It's a good OS, but as a gamer, I couldn't really use it. So Steam is looking to change that. So what they've done is they've taken the program Wine, which is used to run Windows programs, and they have made their own version called Proton. And they've attached it to every single Steam user's Steam executable. And what this does is it lets you natively run, well, not natively, because you're going to run it through Proton, but you can run any Windows game on Steam through this program on your Linux box, and you don't have to do anything extra from a Windows user. So right now as a Windows user, I click on a game, I install it, I click play, it plays. On a Linux-based system, you would have to install Wine, hope it works. There could be like things in a command prompt that you have to put in. It's a very arduous process. Now with this application, Steam has made it the same as a Windows user's experience, where I install the game, I click play, it fucking plays. And that's huge. And the reason that that is huge is because as gamers, we don't actually have a lot of choice on PC. I know we always say PC Master Race and all that, but you're really stuck to one OS. If you want a game, seriously, you want to play a lot of games, you want a consistently large library of games, you have to play on Windows. And that's just how it is, because everyone develops for Windows because it's the most popular OS. This change that Valve is going for with its Steam executable Proton application is going to give gamers choice. And that's huge, because in a market that's kind of monopolized by Windows, you are no longer beholden to that. You can run whatever OS you want and still have a large, consistent library of games to play, and that is awesome. Personally, I'm very excited. Right now, I'm running Windows 7. I would like to not run 10 for as long as humanly possible, and it looks like if this takes off, your boy can stick to not using Windows 10 and go to Linux, which would be pretty fucking sweet. And I'm sure Windows 10 users are out there and they're not enjoying their experience. They could always switch to Linux and kind of grow and move into this this OS that'll treat you better. Other notes on how it works. So right now they have a list of games that work with absolutely no problems. Valve certified. Yes, you can just run it like a Windows game. And they made it open source, so anyone can add games to that list eventually if they get them working with no problems. But you can also click a button and say, no, I just want to install a game on my library and see if it works. And if it doesn't, then you have to do all the jiggering around with stuff. Settings and command prompts and whatnot. But this is a huge step forward, because up until this point, if you wanted a game to work on Linux, you just had to hope someone before you had done it. Or you had to be a Linux pro that knew how to use Wine and knew how to get different shit working. So now that you can plug and play, I think you'll see a lot more gamers moving to Linux. I think that's awesome. I think more choice for gamers is better. And I'm very excited to see where this goes. I'm going to be watching this closely, and you guys should too if you're not a fan of Windows 10. And the final story I wanted to talk about today. I know this is a shorter episode. I'm sorry. I feel like I'm talking your ear off. I've only been talking for half an hour. That I wanted to cover comes from Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. If you know me, I'm very, very, very excited about this game. I'm very excited about everything that has to do with it. I've been watching all the Nintendo Directs. I've been watching all the trailers. I've been watching gameplay that's coming out from Europe of just like professional European players playing the game to try and understand it at a higher level. I'm very excited for this Nintendo Switch title. I think it's going to be huge. I think it's going to be the best Smash game that's ever come out, and I'm very excited for it. Recently, an article has come out where Sakurai, the creator of Smash, was interviewed, and he was talking about a mechanic that had a lot of the competitive scenes divided, and that was metered final smashes. So if you've ever played a Smash Brothers game, or if you haven't, I'll get you up to date. Final smashes are like a character's ultimate move. They do a shit ton of damage. They usually kill, and normally they were gathered by smashing a smash ball. It's like a little orb. It floats around the stage. You can hit it. If you're the last one to hit it and it breaks, you get a glowing aura around you. You can press the B button and fire out a final smash. Mario gets a massive screen-wide fireball. DK gets his bongos. Marth gets her, it's like an egg. Is Marth the boy? I don't know. Marth, Lucina, whatever. They get an attack where they basically one-shot you and fire you off the stage. It's very cool. They're very flashy, but the competitive scene has never really been able to use them because they are unblockable, unlike most fighting games. They They take up most of the screen. They're not really dodgeable, and they weren't considered competitively viable. So they were striked from competitive play due to the unfairness and the randomness on who got them. There was no consistency. But in Smash Ultimate, they've added a new feature called Metered Final Smash. And what this is you got a meter under your health bar, or your percent indicator, and it slowly goes up over time. According to Sakurai, Final Smash meter fills up while you fight, so most people have taken to assuming that means over time. And what this does is once that's charged up, you get the same aura as a regular Final Smash, your big ultimate special move, but you fire out a weaker version. So where Mario's final Fireball Smash would do maybe like 70 to 80 damage and almost certainly kill, this one will do less. It'll knock you back a ton, but it won't necessarily kill you unless you're at a higher percent. And the idea behind this is people don't like the Smash Ball, but they still want to experience the Final Smashes. This gives you an option to do so. It's turned off by default in the base game rules, but you can turn it on. If you don't want to play with items, but you want everyone to have a chance to get their Final Smash, it'd be great. Sakurai has come out and said this would probably be better for casual play because it makes the battles very crazy and wild. And he's basically stating that because Final Smashes are fucking insane. If you have an unblockable move that goes the whole stage, that's gnarly. That changes the whole scene of the battle. And it's great for when you got 4 buddies over having beers, but maybe not great in a 1v1 where thousands of dollars are on the line. But the competitive community, up to this point, has been very divided on it. And the reason they've been divided on it is that a lot of people feel like one thing that has been missing from Smash for years is a special meter. So if you've played Street Fighter, or which I didn't play a ton of, or Mortal Kombat or Injustice, which I have played a lot of, you know that your characters have a special meter at the bottom, and it goes up when you take damage or you give damage. It goes up in increments, and you can use that bar to augment your regular special attacks, or if you save the full meter, you get a big special move that you can use. In Injustice, it was things like you could call in the Batmobile to beat the fuck out of someone, and it does a ton of damage, and it's very cool. Smash doesn't have that. Smash more relied on technical platform play, and everyone had a set move list, and there was no augmenting or special. And a lot of people say, Smash is an FGC, and this is one of the reasons. Smash doesn't have a special meter. Smash doesn't operate with the same mechanics as other fighting games. So a lot of competitive players, especially ones that are in the FGC as well, saw this as an opportunity to have Smash be more like FGC and have cool special meters. Certain members of the community saying it's about damn time. This is what we've always wanted. We've always wanted to have a very large, flashy move that can go off because it looks cool in competitive play, and it'd probably be fun. It's a cool way to even the odds. If you look at notable FGC moments like the Daigo parry, that wouldn't have been possible without metered special moves, right? However, the other half of the Smash community is the more traditional side of the Smash community is saying these moves are fucking broken. It's another thing that we're going to have to request be balanced by Nintendo, who is notorious for not patching their games for balance very frequently. Cough, cough, Bayonetta, cough. And we don't want to deal with that. We would rather just turn them off now that we have an option to turn them off. Why would we complicate competitive play? If you've ever been around for the launch of a new Smash game, probably the first 6 months are spent figuring out what the fuck kind of rules are we going to use. What stages are playable? Are custom moves allowed? Are Mii fighters allowed? All this stuff goes through. Is wobbling allowed if you want to go all the way back to Melee? Is certain stages, are they okay? Are they not? The Smash community takes a long time figuring out what's legal. Longer than traditional FGC games because, it is a party game. I don't want to fall into the trope of Smash as an FGC, but it's very much a game that has a high skill ceiling and is suited for competitive play, but is designed around casual play. It's designed around the idea of me getting, 3 to 7 other buddies and sitting in a circle in front of my TV and we're playing Smash Brothers. That's the idea, and that was the core ideology of this game. You got to remember when it came out of the Nintendo 64, you didn't have tournaments. You just fucking sat around in your basement playing Smash Brothers. So it makes it hard to balance for competitive play. Of course, you have to turn off anything that gives some kind of RNG mechanic, like items, and this encompassed Final Smashes, as cool as they were gained through an item. However, the traditional community is saying that even though a meter exists, the fact that these moves are really balanced around casual play, where in casual play, I don't care if Mario has a screen-wide fireball that he can just shoot out and kill me instantly, and I can't block it and I can't dodge it. I don't care about that because I'm sitting around with the boys having a beer, and we're just playing Smash Brothers. So I don't give a shit about that, right? That doesn't bother me. What does bother me, however, is if I'm doing competitive play, right? Where you're supposed to be measuring your skill against another opponent. And if your opponent gets his meter before you and fires out a fireball that you can't dodge and you can't block, and it knocks you back off the stage and kills you instantly, do you really think that you've won that skill contest? I don't think so. And the traditional community, which I guess I'm a part of, doesn't think so either. The counter to this from the pro Smash Meter community is that you can balance these and we can figure it out, but I think it would be safer to just take them out of the game. Again, it's an interesting concept. The idea of having these big flashy special moves, like, you know, we've always seen in fighting games. You know, you look at Street Fighter, you see, you know, fucking Dhalsim with the massive fireball. You see Zangief with the big fucking cyclone hammer drop throw thing. I don't play a lot of Street Fighter, so I don't know the names. I'm sure Matt's going to listen to this in the coming week and go, what the fuck, Flint? Like, how do you not know Street Fighter terms? But guess what? Matt's not here, so I don't have to get him right. And Brian's not here, so I don't have to wear a shirt. This is like the fucking best episode ever. Anyhow, one thing I'd also like to touch on is the rule set side of things. A lot of the community in Smash has been sitting around, and we're trying to figure out what the hell kind of rules we want to use. If you've been following Smash Ultimate, on top of the Smash meter, pretty much like 60 stages are going to be tournament legal, because you can turn off stage hazards, you can do a whole bunch of things with them with the battlefield and the final destination variants. So a lot of players and tournament organizers who want to have a launch day tourney are sitting around trying to figure out a rule set, a unified rule set. One of the biggest problems in Smash is when you are determining a rule set, not everyone thinks the same way. You know, this Final Smash argument that was culminated by this story I saw is really telling of that, right? You have half the community, or a large amount of the community, that thinks that these things should be legal and we can balance around them, and it would be fun to have a special meter in Smash finally. And you have another part of the community that's going, no, this is going to be really hard to balance and we don't want to deal with that, so we'll just turn it off because we can turn it off. You see that across the board with how many stocks do we want to use? How long do we want the games to run? You know, is 8 minutes fine? Is 4 minutes enough? 3 stocks, 4 stocks, 2 stocks? I know there was a time in Brawl where people wanted 1 stock best of 7, right? We're constantly deciding what we should use, and because it's a party game that gives us tons of toggleable options, we're always sitting there trying to figure out what's the best choice. And it kind of delays the Smash tournament scene because we don't have a rule set for, you know, roughly 6 months. It's why the newer games really haven't been as popular as Melee, because Melee's had 20 years. They figured out that rule set before there was even streaming. So by the time it got on stream, they were already like, yeah, we know how to do this. This is going to be 4 stock. The masters are going to be this long. These stages are legal. We're not going to use poke floats because we saw someone stall someone out on that. We're not going to fucking have ice climbers wobble you to $9.99 because that's boring to watch. They've already kind of figured out where they were sitting by the time Twitch got huge. However, with Smash 4 and Brawl and this new game, Ultimate, people are going to be sitting there almost with their dicks in the wind, kind of trying to figure out what the hell tournament rule set do we use. And you're going to have TOs on all sides and personalities on all sides suggesting different options and saying this would be good. No, it would be better if we had 2 stocks. Oh, the game's kind of fast. Why don't we go to 3 stocks? Oh, this stage is really fun if you toggle the stage hazards. Yeah, but we already have 15 stages that we can use. Why would we need a 16th? It's an ever-evolving argument, and it's really interesting to watch in real time because as much as I love Smash and I love watching Smash, I've never really been around for the launch of a new Smash game, and I've never been as excited for a Smash game launch as I have for Ultimate. Maybe it was just because I didn't play it much as a kid, outside of going to my friend's house to play Melee. I don't know. But I think this final Smash argument is kind of like a smaller side argument to the whole what kind of rule set do we want to have as a community. And I think it's one of those things where you can't really decide on a rule set till you have the game, right? There's certain things, like I very much am of the opinion we shouldn't have final smashes in competitive play. I feel like that's kind of a no-brainer. But as far as how does the game play, how fast is it, how slow is it, what stages are legal, that kind of stuff you can't decide until you have the game in front of you and you can play test it. And I think a lot of the argument and the problems that we're going to have are going to stem from the fact that people are trying to figure stuff out when they don't actually own a copy of the game. Like, this game doesn't come out till December, and we're trying to figure out rules outside of Final Smashes. We're trying to figure out rules, what, like 4 months in advance? That's ridiculous. That'd be like Brian, when Soul Calibur comes out in 3 years, we're trying to figure out what stages to use in Soul Calibur right now. Like, that's a long time, man. But I don't know. Like, that idea of rule sets is always... It's always interested me. And we don't see it a lot in Smite, right? Smite had... Like, that's the other competitive game I've played a lot of. The only other one's maybe Call of Duty. I'll get to that in a sec. But Smite... One, has a heavy corporate presence from the designers that made the game. Like, Hi-Rez is very much involved in Smite esports and everything to do with Smite, unlike Nintendo. So they have an esports division in Skillshot, and they say, nope, these are the rules, this is how you play, and everything in Conquest is legal as long as you are doing it in a Conquest map without cheating, right? And it seems to work out well, and then they balance accordingly. The difference between Smite and Smash is Smash might only get like 3 patches in its entire run cycle. I think that's how many Smash 4 got. I would assume Ultimate maybe gets 1 or 2 more. Maybe 5. I'll be generous. And then they just release it and they say, this is, the game's out in the wild now. You enjoy it in all its glory. And that's how you end up with things like Bayonetta or Meta Knight. But that's how Nintendo has always rolled. It's like, the game is complete. I'm done making the game. We're not going to spend more time balancing a game we've already released. So as a community, we've kind of had to step up and make rule sets and ban certain things, and that leads into a whole other discussion about whether we should ban Bayonetta or not. But I'm not going to get into that. That being said, it's just interesting to see how different communities have to respond. Right, Call of Duty is the only other one that I know of where kind of a gentlemanly agreement rule set has been decided upon. But I think Smash is in that weird bracket where we want to make it as competitive as possible, but to do so takes time, but we don't have time because we want the community to launch as fast as possible, because when you're on the internet, time is of the essence in terms of when you launch a game versus, when it comes out. Your hype can only stay for so long, especially if you're a new viewer, right, who maybe watched Smash 4 Grand Finals at EVO and was not too impressed. And you can't stay excited like I can for a game because you've never played Smash. You don't know what the fuck it's about. So you go to check it out on day one, and it's a shit show because no one knows the rules. So we're kind of in a... Smash community is in a sticky situation is what I'm getting at in terms of rule sets. I think we have to wait until the game comes out and maybe, have a couple shitty launch tournaments and hope the game numbers, like the viewership numbers, stick around and make things viable. I'd also like to see more involvement from Nintendo in terms of not competitive rule sets, because I think that's very much a community thing with how Nintendo has decided to run online gaming in the past. But in terms of sponsoring tournaments, in terms of, promoting the fact that, hey, you can play this game competitively if you want to. It's not just a party game. It's very much a party game, but you could also play it competitively. Yeah, that's me rambling about Smash for 25 minutes. I'm very excited about this game, if you couldn't tell. And, I'm very anxious for it to come out. Probably going to fucking eat up all my life once we get to that point. But those are the 4 stories I wanted to talk about today. There's another one I kind of want to mention at the end, but it's a little heavier, so I'm going to save it till the very end and kind of leave on a little bit of a heavier note. And we'll go right into the community challenge. Community challenge I was not there for to assign, so I wasn't 100% sure what it was. I had to look it up. Community challenge for this week was, what storyline in a game or movie stuck with you the wrong way? Like, you thought it was super fucked up, you just didn't enjoy it in the way that you thought you were going to, or the story was ruined for you. Like, you were really invested and then something happened and you're like, what the fuck? It's all wrong. So I'm going to read a few community responses and then I will give my own at the end. Because I'm the only one. Usually we pepper them through with the different hosts, but well, you've been stuck with Micromanatee for 50 minutes. Hopefully you can hang on a little longer. Okay, so let's go to the community challenge section of our Discord. Scroll past the redneck pictures I was sending to Amayo. Okay, Croshan. Coming as hot. Hey, Croshan, how's it going, man? He says, I used to be a huge fan of Halo's lore. I think I picked up just about every book that came out from the Bungie days because I couldn't get enough of the stories in that world. But then Halo 4 came out. It's not the setup that irks me. I think knowing more about the Forerunners is a good thing, but changing Cortana's whole character to make her a villain was a dumb move. And also, making her into this estranged love interest for Master Chief, especially when you take into account that she's based off Dr. Halsey's mind, kind of makes it a quasi-incestual relationship. Overall, I think 343 could have done better, but that's just my opinion. Oh man, Croshan, a man after my own heart. I have all the Halo books. I love that shit. And first of all, I have to agree, when you say 343 could have done better, that applies to not just the story of Halo 4 and the other Halo games. That just applies to their whole mindset when it comes to making a Halo game. In my opinion, the last good Halo game was Halo Reach. The other ones after that, like competitively, sucked wieners. They were not good. Halo 5 was a little bit better than Halo 4, but it still wasn't good. And hopefully they get back on track for 6, but I think it's probably too late, and we're looking at it nostalgically. In terms of lore and story, that's interesting, because I've also read the book. For those of you that haven't and you're wondering about the ancestral relationship thing, Master Chief was kidnapped as a kid, and he was brought to this facility where he was trained to become a Spartan. I'm glossing over the horrible shit that they did to him to make him a Spartan, but this was what happened to him, and it was run by a doctor named Dr. Halsey, and she sort of became like a mother to the Spartans. In fact, Spartans in several different games and books refer to her as like the mom. She's the mom. She took care of us when we were kids. She helped us grow into Spartans. She's created us. She's essentially our mother. And so Croshan's saying making Cortana into Master Chief's love interest, it ends up, because she's based off Dr. Halsey's mind and she looks kind of like Dr. Halsey, it makes it weird. Makes it a little weird. The Master Chief's kind of lusting after his digital mom. And see, I don't know, man. I kind of agree with you, Croshan. I haven't played Halo 4 since it came out. I haven't played the story of Halo 4 since it came out, so I'd have to replay it. But Cortana becoming evil, I thought, was explained pretty well in terms of, the AI software corrupts after a certain period of time. And I think that was already an established thing in the canon where the AI fragments. And I think 343 took a little creative twist on that and said, well, fragments could mean that they just stop working, or fragments could mean that they go fucking crazy and homicidal, which interesting take. I can agree with you not liking it narratively, but it's not out of line for the canon. As far as the incestual relationship thing, maybe it was just because Halo 4 came out when I was younger. I never saw that relationship as like lovers. I saw it more as like close platonic friends. And I feel like you would have a certain amount of love for someone that's like lived inside your head for a decade. But this is based off knowledge from like 15-year-old Flint. I have no idea if I'd have to replay the game to see how they framed it to really get an idea. But thank you for bringing it up. Thank you for bringing Halo up, because not a lot of people are like super into the lore, which is a shame because the books are they're good. They're good like light sci-fi if you want something to read. So you check those out if you haven't. Thank you very much, Corrosion. Full Metal Ben G. Hey man, how's it going? You're very active in the Discord lately, and I really appreciate that. Hope you stick around for a long time, man. Right now, everyone is enjoying their Final Fantasy 28s and Call of Infinity Black Ops Zombie Night. But let me tell you a story of a boy, nay, a young blossoming man. Oh shit. How about that? We're getting the fucking story, boys. The year was 2003, and everyone was enjoying the SARS outbreak. Well, first, I don't think anyone was enjoying the SARS outbreak. but at the second round of the Gulf War, neither of those sound great. But for those of us who didn't like oil or face masks, we're tucked up in our bedrooms, living out our dreams of being a farmer. That's right. Harvest Moon, A Wonderful Life had hit the GameCube. Oh, shit. Benji's a farmer, boys. Let's go. Farmers are much like astronauts or NBA players in the sleepy English town that I call home. So a game that enabled us to live out our lives as a land magician was the stuff of dreams. But friends, the story doesn't end well, for Harvest Moon is a rose covered in sharp adamantite thorns placed at the pinnacle of desire. The game starts out perfectly as expected to, the smooth transitions of seasons, the fun crops and festivals as the years go on, even a wife and a baby child. Oh shit. And then, just as it all seems perfect, the Lady of the Long Sleep appears, taking your character into a swirling void and shattering the peace and harmony of your farm, family, and town. A young and bald-chinned Benji did not know the true sadness and trauma until this day. I can still feel the ice-cold grip around my heart whenever I look upon a turnip. Finn. F's in the chat. Benji, that was a tale. That was like a lore within the lore. I'm impressed. I've never played Harvest Moon. I had friends that played it, and they swore by it. They said it was an amazing game. Sounds like it was an emotional experience for you. Maybe one to check out if it's not $95 to buy a physical copy for the GameCube. Never know. You never know. You fella, or just you, as he goes by the Discord now, says, Danganronpa V3. Oh my god. Listen, with these anime games, like, I love anime. I'm enjoying it. Some of these titles, man, I can never pronounce right. I look at it, there's like fucking 16 A's and a G, and I'm like, I don't know. I don't know about all this. So I'm trying. I'm gonna get it wrong. Danganronpa V3 is known as a fucked up series, but V3 took it a step too far in my opinion. The ending is all kinds of fucked up, and the executions that this game is known for just got way more brutal. I won't spoil anything because Danganronpa is a game that you must play blindly for the shock factor. I think it's like a horror game. I think it's like a horror anime storybook game. Never played it. I don't. I'm glad you didn't spoil it. Maybe I'll check it out if they're cheap on Steam. I'm down for a good fuck up. Apparently, avoid V3 if you don't want too much emotional trauma when you go to sleep at night. Jordonia comes in. I'm having trouble with the name. I've crushed a couple beers. I'm having trouble with the names. I'm also like 50 minutes in a row. God damn. Brian, when you get back, you got to let me know how you talk for like 55 fucking minutes in a row without it like hurting your jaw. Or Bryce, when we get to talking about like beers and rumple, like you guys both go fairly long in those subjects. You got to let me know how your mouth doesn't fucking destroy itself after this amount of time talking. Jordonia, which we haven't, Whammy, who's been around a long time, we haven't seen him in a while. I'm glad you wrote in on this one, buddy. It says, The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask. For the series that appeared to be kid-friendly, there's a lot of messed up things presented in this game. It's truly one of the darkest games I've ever played. One example is the beginning. You, Link, are cursed, and you're turned into a Deku. When you finally transform back into a normal Link, everything is fine until you realize all the masks you get that allow you to transform contain the souls of the thing that you transform into. For example, there's the guitarist Zora that you see die on the beach, which allows you to get his mask and transform into him. One of the darkest things is during the Deku area of the game, there's a butler who mentions to you while you were a Deku that you look like his son who went missing some time ago. And since the mask you get can only be obtained from dead bodies, it is heavily hinted that the mask you originally get cursed into is the butler's dead son. Fuck Legend of Zelda? What the hell? I mean, that, like, The Legend of Zelda, I remember Wind Waker, like, when you fucking rammed a sword into Ganon's skull. It can get dark at times, but damn. Damn, again, a game I've never played, but sounds interesting. Let's check it out. Fro Double G, taking a break from Bot G to come over to say hello, says, Pokemon is cockfighting for kids. My mind was blown. You right. Yeah. I'm like, when someone framed it like that for me the first time, I was like, wow, okay, you kind of right. And I was a little butthurt about it. So I feel you. I feel you, Fro Double G. So everyone kind of went with games this time. And none of the co-hosts wrote in because they're all noob idiots. I don't know. So I'm sitting here calling me the blue buff, and then none of them can fucking show up for this week. So I don't know. They didn't write in, so we don't get to hear their opinions. But you get to hear mine if you aren't already tired of hearing mine. My submission for the community challenge is a movie. It has a Korean version and an American version, and it's called Old Boy. So I'm going to spoil the movie. This is a spoiler warning. If you want to watch this movie, do not continue. Just go watch Old Boy on Netflix and come back and finish the podcast, and I will talk about it for another 15 minutes. So Old Boy, when it is presented to you in a trailer, is a revenge story about a guy that wants to beat the shit out of everyone that has fucked him. And what I mean by that is this guy, and I watched the Korean version, I never watched the American version because the Korean version had me all kinds of fucked up. This guy, town drunk, gets locked in a room, a prison cell. It has a TV, a bed, he gets meals every day, but it's still a prison. He has no idea why, right? He didn't commit a crime. This isn't a government-run prison. Someone has kidnapped him and put him in this box for, I think it was 15 years? I want to say it was 15 years. And he doesn't know why, and he's let go after 15 years, and it is his goal to find the motherfucker that did this and just pound them into the pavement. He is so mad, and he has spent 15 years... he's not a trained fighter, but he was watching boxing matches and learning how to punch and learning how to take a hit by, like, just beating the fuck out of a concrete wall for 15 years. Rip his knuckles, by the way. Like, that man got the nastiest arthritis, I bet. So this is the story that you're presented in the trailer, is that he has been locked up for 15 years, he's released, he's on a revenge mission to find the man that imprisoned him here, who is obviously a rich man with lots of henchmen to beat up. Sounds awesome. I'm like, yeah, hell yeah, this is like Korean John Wick. This is gonna be great. Let me tell you, SQA listeners, it was not great. Okay, it sucked wiener. It sucked wiener. The movie did, as promised, sit down and take you through a revenge story of this guy just punching the fuck out of a million henchmen, and it was bloody and violent and awesome, and I love that part of it. But there was also this kind of side plot where he met a girl at a bar, right? He was at a bar, and it was like clearly a younger woman. She was like in her 20s. And they're talking, and he tells her about the revenge plan, and she's like, well, I'll help you with that. I'm not going to beat anyone up, but I'll drive you around or tell you where to go and things of that nature, give you knowledge of the world that you've left behind after 15 years. And it develops into a romantic plot. They end up fucking in a hotel room, which I was like, yeah, okay, that's fine. I'm down for that. Dude's been locked up for 15 years. There's a lot of pent up big dick energy, so he's probably raring to go. I'm for it. Whatever. It was like a throwaway sex scene in every action movie. You just kind of go, You ignore it. You move on. Unless you're watching it with your parents, and then you pretend to look at your phone and until it's over. Anyway, so eventually this old boy finds out that it's his old classmate that locked him up, and his old classmate's now super rich dude who lives in like this big fucking tower. And you've seen this story a million times where he has to start at the bottom of the tower, fight his way up, get to the final boss, beat the fuck out of him, kill him, and then go home. And everything's happy. He's gonna go find his family. Which, this is an important note. Yeah, he did have a family. He had a young daughter and he had a wife that he wants to find. And on top of the beating the fuck out of the guy that locked him in there. So he gets to the top of the tower. We're there. He's beating all the henchmen. All that's left is like one dude who he kills and then the final guy, and they're standing at the end of the big room, and the bad guy starts his monologue, and I'm thinking, okay, this is normal. Bad guy starting a monologue. I've been here before. I've watched 80s action movies. This is fine. And he goes, my plan's not over yet. And he snaps his fingers, and in comes in the young girl that old boy was fucking. And I thought, oh shit, she was working for him the whole time. This is nutty. But no. No, that's not the case. So what you find out is the reason this classmate locked up old boy was back in junior high. Old boy walked in on the evil guy having sex with his sister. And he told everyone. He was like, yeah, I caught them doing it in the tower. And I listened to that and went, Korea, what the fuck? Right. So, of course, like this guy's evil guy's life spiraled out of control because he was fucking his sister, which is just creepy as shit. And, okay. So he says, so I decided to get revenge on you. I locked you up for 15 years. Like, well, I hate the evil guy even more now, but that doesn't explain why she's here. And he goes, well, like why the girl is there. And he goes to old boy, well, I wanted you to see that we're the same person. So I hypnotized both of you and made you have sex. And it turns out that young girl was his daughter. So he fucked his daughter. And I was watching this with a buddy. And we were sitting down. We thought it was going to be a regular ass, like, beat 'em up movie. And that line dropped, and we just started screaming at the TV. We just started screaming, no, this is horrible. I don't want anything to do with this. That movie has stuck with me as, like, the most traumatizing shit I had ever watched because it was a normal movie. Normal beat 'em up. It was following all the points of, like, he's beating the henchman up, he's beating the evil guy up, and then it just went to incest. Out of nowhere. And it was like, why did you go there? You could have done literally anything else. You could have had any other plot line there. But no, you decided we better have incest in this. That'll really fuck with the audience. Well, guess what, old boy? It did. It did fuck with me. Okay? And I want nothing to do with it. And we were like, do we watch the American version? Will that be better? Probably not. So I haven't seen it. And I refuse to because the Korean version fucked me up. If anyone's seen the American version of Old Boy, let me know if it's the same thing, because I refuse to sit down and watch that shit just in case it's the same as the Korean one, okay? Like, fuck that. Fuck that movie. If you like that movie, you're just wrong. I'm sorry. You're wrong. Like, empirically, I can measure it with a fucking protractor. You're just wrong. That movie was just fucked up. Anyway, that's my community challenge. And I think going off that vein, I have another community challenge submission that you guys can participate in. If you want to go in the Discord, you go to the community challenge section, you can type it up. We haven't been getting a ton of responses lately. Let's fix that with this one, whammies, all right? In honor of the solo SQA show, how about you guys show some love to your favorite blue buff, and you fucking sit down and you give me a good community challenge for next week to talk about. My community challenge is what is a game or movie or book, or I'll even open up experience that you wish you could forget so you could experience it for the first time again. Like, what's one of those movies or anime or games that you see someone going through the first time and you go, shit, I am so jealous because you don't know anything about this going in and you're just going to love it. And you see that same love going through this person. You get really jealous that you can never experience that for the first time again. And the reason I bring this up is because I watched my dad. He's watching Gurren Lagann for the first time. And that's one of those animes that the first time you watch it is always the most powerful. And as much as I love that anime, I would love to forget everything I know about that and sit down and watch it for the first time again because it was just a great experience. So that's what inspired this community challenge. Let me know, what game or movie would you like to forget so you could experience it for the first time again? Let us know on Twitter. Let us know in the community challenge section of the Discord. Hit us up. Let us know, what do you think? We'll talk about it on the show next week. It'll be freaking sweet. And that wraps the solo show up, man. I made it past an hour. I'm fucking clean. Things are good. But there was one more thing I want to talk about, and I'm not going to get too heavy into it because it's still a developing story and stuff, but it's kind of heavy. There was an esports event in Jacksonville, Florida, just today, actually, and it was a Pro Madden event, and there ended up being a shooter at that. And as someone that is going to Hi-Res Expo and is part of the esports community, it really hit home. And I think as gamers, we can all kind of sit around and really mourn the loss of life that has occurred here. Not a very light story, but one I think that's important for us to acknowledge and recognize. And I'm not going to get into the debate side of it or anything. But I think as a community, if you could send out your well wishes to those affected in Jacksonville. And if you live in Jacksonville or nearby, if you wanted to help out by volunteering or donating blood or anything along those lines, I would encourage you to do so. When a tragedy like this occurs in our community, I think it's important for us as gamers and just as people to kind of come together and help out those affected any way we can. And really, my heart goes out to everyone that was affected by that. That's the last thing you want to happen at any kind of esports event. A lot of people look at gaming as kind of their escape from the bullshit in the real world, and the fact that bullshit has seeped into an esports event is... It's hard, and we're going to be hurting from it for a long time. Just please, if you can help out or send well wishes to the way of people in that situation or affected by that situation, please do so. It might not seem like it does a lot, but even just knowing that there's a community there can sometimes be a big help. Anyway, that was all I wanted to say on that. I know it's a little heavier, but we have reached the end of the SQA solo show. Hopefully does not happen again. My throat is, even with like the 2 beers, my throat is extremely dry. Oh my God. So if you like this episode, or you want to see one where there's more than one person talking to a mic, you can do so by going and visiting us on many different platforms. The first and foremost being SoundCloud. If you want to visit us at SideQuest Arcade on SoundCloud, you can see all of our old episodes. We got 16 up there. We're getting a very good library, very good variety of shows. So definitely check that out. You can also listen to us on YouTube if you want to get a video portion. You want to see our beautiful faces while we talk about topics that you want to hear about. Check us out on YouTube. You can find us at SideQuest Arcade on YouTube. We upload there usually a day after the SoundCloud episode goes live, just because it takes longer to edit and render. If you'd like to follow us on Twitter, you can do so at SQA. It's at SideQuest Arcade on Twitter. I almost fucked that one up. At SideQuest Arcade on Twitter. We'll be doing giveaways on there. We'll be retweeting stuff from the host. We interact with our fans on that platform. So if you want to hit us up on Twitter, please do so. Usually I'm the one checking it, me or Brian. So either you'll get spicy memes or Soul Calibur 6 talk, depending on who you get. If you want to follow the host on Twitter, you can follow myself at Micromanatee for good memes and good times. If you want to follow Matt, who isn't here, you can follow him at MadmanMattYT. He is a excellent guy to follow as well. Very much into Godzilla and the whatnot. If you want to follow Brian, you can follow him at SQA_happiness. He takes beautiful photography on his Twitter. You should definitely check that out. Again, wonderful guy to follow. We're all lovely guys to follow on the SQA podcast. Get on Twitter and follow us if you aren't. We also all do giveaways. So fuck yeah, get on there. And if you want to follow Bryce, as a warning, make sure there's an underscore, okay? It's @_silent reveries. Mind the underscore. Seriously, like we join call and he rants about the fact that people miss that underscore in his Twitter handle for about 45 minutes before we start every episode. It's really draining on us as a community, like a group of podcasters. So if you could perhaps make sure you mind that underscore, we would very much appreciate it. @_silent reveries. We have shirts. If you want to wear a SideQuest Arcade shirt, you can go to our Teespring. SideQuest Arcade Teespring. Again, there's going to be a link in the description. Check it out. You want to wear a shirt? They're very comfortable. I'm not wearing it right now, but it's great. We also have VD2 shirts if you're an OG whammy and you'd like to have that. Where else can you follow us? We're also on pretty much every podcasting app except Spotify. So PodBean, TuneIn, whatever. And if we're not on one, let us know. We'll try and get on there. Google Play, iTunes. Leave us a 5-star on iTunes if you wouldn't mind. And also, we have a Discord, a SideQuest Arcade Discord. The invite link is on our official Twitter and is also in these videos. Please click the link and join. We have about 200 whammies in there right now. We're always chatting about things that we like, whether it's podcast-related stuff like the community challenge or giveaways or announcements or suggestions to help improve the show. We're also talking about Smite. We're talking about WoW. We're talking about D&D. We're talking about pretty much whatever the hell we want to. And it's a great time. I've met a great bunch of guys in here, guys and girls, and we're really just all enjoying each other's company in there, having a great time. So you should definitely check that out. That being said, lads, thank you so much for fucking joining in on this solo cast experience. And next week we'll be getting back to our regular scheduled 4-man content, hopefully. So if you'd like to see some of that, tune in next week as well. And that being said, my name is Micro Manatee, a.k.a. Flint. And good yard. Have a fucking good night. You know, hug your dog, hug your cat. Enjoy yourself. I'm not a fucking blue buff. Bryce is a bot. Matt's a bot. Brian's a bot. And, that's all I got to say. Good fucking night.